one that he's going to bless, and he's going to make a great nation. And this is a wonderful story about how God moves and what God can do, and how he loves us so that he's preparing a way. This is all in his salvific story. This is part of that salvific story. So, Stiggers, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Good evening to everybody. Been a busy day. You know, the beginning of the year, you know, you make resolution. I did not. I just said I made a list of things we're going to do, and it's organization. Because when you're organized, you're stress-free.
And you are organized.
I'm trying to do just that. But anyway, I also want to say pre-Happy Founders Day to the sisters and sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. I thought I would start out tonight. Tomorrow, January 15th, we know it will be our 117th. So I want to say pre-Happy Founders Day to my sorors of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority.
All right. Any other news we want to give out tonight before we get started?
Not that I know of. This Sunday, we know at Eastside we're having our tea at 3 o'clock. And so we're looking forward to that. And I don't have any other information. You have something? We know the National Baptist Board meeting is going on right now, and I pray that everything will go well there for them in Birmingham with the newly elected president of the National Baptist. So we know that is going on this week.
Judge Milford wants me to say a prayer for them. For the judges are going to be installed this Sunday. Anyway, we are glad that you all are joining us tonight. So we begin with chapter number 13. Genesis chapter number 13. Genesis chapter number 13. Now, remember that God has blessed Abraham, and Abraham took with him his wife and his nephew, Lot, and he traveled to a place where God showed him. When he got there, he built an altar. And this altar at Bethel was built by Abraham, and Abraham began to bless the Lord, call upon the name of the Lord. And with that, there was a plague that God doesn't have to always make everything nice and comfortable for us. Sometimes we go through things, and that's what we find out where our faith is. God finds out where our faith is. Remember that we're preaching. Last Sunday, we were preaching about teaching and testing. After the teaching, then comes the testing. And so I see here that God is teaching Abraham. He started out with Abraham. First, he said, I will bless you. I will be faithful. I will be the God that takes you through. And then here comes the test. There is a famine in the land. Abraham goes down to Egypt and tells a lie about his wife. Says that it's his sister. And when he does so, there are plagues that come upon Pharaoh, because Pharaoh has now taken Sarai, Abram's wife, but it's actually Abram's wife, whom he said was his sister. Mm-hmm. And that's when his troubles start. And he puts Abram out of his land, but he also gives him gifts as he leaves. As he takes it, he said, take your wife, get out of my country. And when he left with sheep and donkeys and oxen. They give him these things because they paid him well for his sister, but Sarai was his wife. Now, we come up to the point where God again confronts Abram, but a lot is going on. So we're going to begin reading at chapter number 13. Chapter number 13 and 1. This is Abraham and Lot. First, it was God promises a nation to Abraham. Now, this is the story. The story continues. Here's what happens to Abraham and Lot.
And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first, and there Abram called on the name of the Lord.
All right, this is the place where he was at first, and he built that altar unto God. The Bible says that he went into the south of Egypt. He had a roundabout way to get back to Bethel and up by Jerusalem. Now, it says that, and Abram was very rich in cattle, rich in what else? Silver and in gold. And he went on his journey. This is after he goes down to Egypt, because there was a famine in the land. There was food in Egypt. But now the famine is over. And so he travels on where God is asking him to go to a place where I will show you when you get there. And when he returns, he goes to the place where he had built the altar. But now he is very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. He got money and he has livestock. How did Abram get all of this livestock and all of this money? Well, if you have the livestock, if you have sheep, if you have cattle, if you have camels, then they could use them not only for clothing, but for the tents. They could use them for farming. They could use them to barter. They could use them to trade. So Abram was evidently a good businessman, very good businessman. But underneath, it wasn't just Abram knowing good business. Who was it? Had to be God. It had to be God blessing him. Let's look back. Let's look back and see what God says. God says to Abram, and I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing, and I will bless them that bless thee. That's where it comes from. So God can make even a small business very large. He has made Abram with his sheep, with his oxen, with his donkeys, with all his servants, with all his cattle. He has made him very, very prosperous, that he now has, I guess he sold some of that stuff. He now has silver, gold, and cattle. A lot of livestock. It says that he is very rich. He went on his journey back to the place where he built an altar. Now, let's see. This is verse number 5. Let's see what it says in verse number 5 of Genesis chapter 13.
And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
All right, now we see something. Not only was Abram rich, but nephew was rich too. Nephew was real rich. Now, let's see what God told Abram at the beginning. He said, now the Lord said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. Okay, he tells him to get away from his kinfolk. But we see that Lot is tagging along. I need you all to remember that, Eric Floyd, because see, when God tried to separate you from things that are hindering you, you need to be separated. And God was trying to separate him from those old ways of his father, of his kinfolk. And we see that Lot is different from Abram. And you're going to find that out as the way that Abram treats his nephew, the way that Abram does things. We see that not only was he rich, but Lot was rich too. And so the land could not bear them. They were too close together. They had so much stuff. They were so prosperous, and Lot was prosperous because he was with his uncle. Don't get that twisted. And Uncle Abram was prosperous because the Lord blessed him. Now, they had so much substance together that where they were, it was not able to hold them or sustain them. They were a small city within themselves. So let's see what happens. Verse number 7.
And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land.
All right. What does that tell you?
They got in a fight.
They
broke out. I mean, they couldn't get along.
They could not get along. Listen, the herdsmen of Abram and the herdsmen of Lot, they had I don't know what they were fighting over, grazing property, water rights. I don't know what it was, but a strife broke out.
Just like in Yellowstone and Landman and all the shows y'all love to see, their strife broke out when somebody raising sheep or somebody raising cattle. They don't want the sheep and cattle to mix in. Yeah.
But see, these are folks who don't own the stuff themselves, but
True.
they're taking care of the stuff. That's what gets me. You fight over somebody else's stuff.
Right, because Abraham, he says he delegate. That's what they do. People that rich people, they delegate folks to take care of
them. And they manage. They out there fighting like, I'm on Abram's team and I'm on Lot's team. Watch how Abraham, I'm just going to keep calling him Abraham because God's going to change his name. Watch how Abraham handles the strife that has broke out between the two teams, Lot and Abram's team. Watch how he handles it. Go ahead and read.
And Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife.
We ain't got to fight, man.
Between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren.
See, many times when folk get into it with one another, it starts down low, but it can go up high. Let's say two cousins fight. After a while, it's gonna get around to the brother and the sister. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Sometimes when two children get into it, it can get into both families where both families are now mad. Both families are at each other. This is wrong on so many levels. And so what we see is the herdsman got into it, and Abraham says to Lot, wait a minute, let there be no strife between us. I thought the herdsman was the one. It can get out of hand. People can be mad at each other for years. Family members can be mad at each other for years and years and may not even know what they're fighting about. Just know, look, we ain't going over there. We're not going to the family reunion. We're not going to participate. No, they invited us over to Christmas dinner. We ain't going. All of these things just are counter to how God wants us to act, how God wants us to fellowship one with another. And so I'm looking at it. These folks fighting over stuff that's not theirs. And listen, the writer mentions the Canaanites and the Perizzites are dwelling in the land. While y'all fighting, the enemy is watching y'all fight. So Abram was smart on several levels. Abraham was saying, listen, we're already brothers. We don't need to be fighting. And then our herdsmen don't need to be fighting. You talk to your guys, I'll talk to my guys. And then it also mentions, and Abraham probably told Lot, the enemy is watching us all the time. If we turn on one another, they're going to see that as a good opportunity to strike us. So it's good that Abram intervenes, but watch what else he does. What does he say?
Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from thee. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I'll go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan. And Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly.
All right. Listen to Lot. Here's Abram again. Abraham says to Lot, listen, you pick, you choose first. Let's look. You choose first. If you go to the left, I'm going to the right. If you go to the right, I'm going to the left. We don't have to be here crowded in together amongst one another. There's enough land to take care of us. We don't have to be this close where our folks start fighting over stuff. Now, when he tells him something that most people in bargaining and in negotiating would never do, you choose first. You choose first. Whatever you choose, I'm going in the opposite direction. Whatever you choose, I'll take what's left over. Lot then looks at, let me choose. You gonna let me choose first? Let me look and see. Oh, the best land is over here. And he chooses Sodom and Gomorrah. Is plain. It's just like Egypt. You know, Egypt had food when the land was in a famine. Most of the area, most of the country around Egypt was in a famine. Egypt still had food because of their land. Lot chose the good land. What does that tell us about Abram? That tells us that Abram knew God well enough that God could bless him in the north, the south, the east, or the west. Wherever he was going, he had enough knowledge about God. It says that he was rich in cattle, he was rich in silver and in gold. He knew that wherever he went, God was going to bless him. Don't forsake Little LaGrange, West Point, Lynette, Valley, Lot. Forsake our little towns, Gabbyville, Cannonville, Cross 85. Listen, just because you're from a small place doesn't mean that God can't bless you. It's God that does the blessing anyway. Here's what I'm saying. Wherever you go, make sure that you have the Lord with you. Make sure that God is on your side. Make sure that you're on God's side. Make sure you got a relationship with God. And God will bless you in whatever situation you fall in. Look at Joseph. Joseph was blessed in jail. Joseph was blessed, put in a pit, but he went from the pit to the palace. And this is Abraham's great grandson or grandson. And so here's all I'm saying. Here's all I'm saying. That Abram is knowledgeable enough about God to let Lot choose first. You choose first, Lot. Wherever you go, I'm going in the opposite direction. I know God is going to bless me, and God does just that. Okay, keep reading.
And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him.
I read that one more time.
And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him.
Wait a minute.
After that Lot.
After Lot got separated from Abram. You got to read this, because now God is going to say, I want you to do this, because this is how I'm going to bless you. God blesses him after he is obedient enough to do what God told him to do in the first place. What did God tell him in the first place? He said, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred. Lot was kinfolk. From thy father's house. He took part of his father's house. He took his uncle's son, his brother's son, Lot. But when he is separated from him, and the Lord said unto Abram, after Lot was separated from Abram. Now what does he tell him? Lift up what?
Lift up now thine eyes.
Just open your eyes.
And look from the place where thou art northward and southward and eastward and westward.
It look like to me that's all around. That's 4 corners right there. That's everywhere. You north, south, east, and west. Look and do what?
For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth,
You can't do it.
then shall thy seed also be numbered.
You can't count dust. How you gonna count some dust?
Ain't no dust in here.
So I can't count one. So I can't, okay, I can't count no dust. All right, y'all get the idea though. Just run your finger across something. If you can count dust, then the seed of Abraham will be numbered. But you can't count dust. All right. What else does he say?
Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it,
Woo.
for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. That's the end of 13.
Built another altar. That's that second altar that he's now built unto the Lord. He removed his tent. Now he was in Canaan. He was in Canaan. What did God promise the children of Israel when they were removed, when they had the exodus from Egypt? They went to the land of Canaan. That's the same land that God has promised Abram. Now they went down to Egypt and became slaves down there, but God got them back to his original promise to Abraham. Your blessing shall be like the dust of the earth. And I like the fact that he has told him after Lot has separated himself, after Abram and Lot are finally separated. He's separated from those old ways, those family ways. He has separated himself from them, and God gives him everything northward, southward, eastward, and even westward. All of it shall be yours. He gives it to him. Now, it's amazing what God can do and how God is blessing Abram. But that's not all. It doesn't stop there. The next part in chapter 14, you're going to see how Abram then rescues Lot. Still trying to hold on to Lot.
Stay away from
it. Yeah, leave Lot alone. But that's kinfolk, and we watch and see how he rescues him. Okay, it's gonna get kind of weird now. But what we have is kings coming together. In chapter number 14 of Genesis, this is what you need to know. You need to know in 12, God blesses Abram. You need to know that in 13, God tells the story is told about Abram and Lot, and how finally Abram and Lot separate, and God blesses Abraham again. Now you're going to see how God is really blessed. He's blessed with houses and tents and cattle and monetary stuff, silver, gold. He is blessed with all of that. He has blessed them to separate so they can expand and grow even more. Now, watch how significantly God blesses Abraham. Read 14.
The battles of the kings. All right.
All
and
right.
It came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasah, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemaber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and the Zuzims in Ham, and the Emans in Shava Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, unto El Param, which is by the wilderness.
Okay.
And they returned and came to Emeshpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, and dwelt in Hazazon Tamar.
All right.
And there went out of king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah.
Stop right there. All right. And the king of who? And the king of
Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim.
Okay.
It's just like Lord of the Rings. Y'all ever seen Lord of the Rings? The four armies. That's what that make me ride.
We'll tell a little Myrrh, the king of, is that
Elam?
Elam?
And
okay.
Tidal, king of nations, and Raphael, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar. 4 kings with 5.
With 5. Okay. 4 kings get 5 kings. And so, and they're fighting. These are kings and their tribes, their people. They are fighting against one another. They are fighting. One wants to take over the other. In this land, right around where our boy Abraham is. Keep going.
And the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits.
Okay.
And the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way.
Okay. They done took their stuff and left.
Yeah, that's what normally they do. You go in battle.
Yeah.
You kill off the folks, or you run them off, and then you take the bounty.
Okay.
Whatever they call it.
Okay. And that came what?
And they took Lot and Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. Okay,
they weren't necessarily on Abram's side, but they at least came back and told him what had happened. Now, Sodom and Gomorrah, that's where Lot is. He's over in that area. But the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled with that, it says, with all they had, with their victuals. And their victuals, which everything they had, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother, son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. They taking everything. These are some low down kings now. Now they're not in the business of protecting people who are in their land. But when Sodom and Gomorrah fled, then I believe it's Cheryl Stiggers. He took over. And those kings with him took over, and they took Lot with them, because Lot was in that land too. Now, understand, Lot has a lot. Lot has much because he was rich as well. But let's find out what happens when this confederate, this person that comes back, who's in the battle, belongs to them, but comes back and tell Abram what is going on with his nephew.
And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me
all that time Abram done built up an army, because all the workers he had to say, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318.
Abram had a lot. He had much.
Well, it seemed like all his husband, whatever, if they had children, the children grew up and automatically you're going to be in the army.
Yeah.
They were automatically
Well, they
drafted.
served. They served.
They automatically
These are trained
drafted.
folk. You know,
Yeah,
and
trained service.
Abraham had enough sense. Abraham had enough sense to train them before they went into battle.
Sure.
At some point or another, y'all, we might have to fight. So if we do, let's be ready. And then what gets me is that here you have kings that are banding together, and these kings are fighting and destroying everything and taking what they want to take. But Abraham's sitting back looking. They're not messing with him. So Abraham was mighty in himself. He's so mighty that now he goes after kings. And what they have done, what happens?
And he brought back all the goods.
All of it.
And also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Abraham had it going on. They went on.
I'm trying to tell y'all, Abraham bad.
We don't know how many folks those other kings had with them. Abraham had a big army.
Well, wait a minute. It said how many he had. He had 300 what?
Well, Abraham had 318.
Okay, 318.
Yeah,
but
we don't know how many.
Wait a minute. Don't we understand from Gideon?
Yes.
When they had about 20,000, he said you got too many. Then narrowed it down to 300 that would fight. So God can do more
when you got faith
with little,
I'm telling you,
than a whole lot of folk can do with the masses, can do with legions. And so it's no surprise to us from what we have read about God and what we are seeing God do.
And we know Abraham had to win because we know the blessing was going to come through Abraham.
The blessing got to come through Abraham.
The blessing got to come through. So we know he had to win.
And the boy, listen, Abraham's son, Isaac, is not even born
Not
yet.
even born yet.
And all of this is going on. This is faith building.
Ooh,
This will build up your faith. First, go to a place, sight unseen, and I'm going to bless you. Now, I'm going to bless you so much that people with you going to be blessed. And then I'm going to bless you so much that you're going to be so rich that you're going to be able to sell what you have. You're going to be rich not only in cattle, but you're going to be rich in silver and in gold. And then you're going to be so rich. This is the blessing of Abraham. I'm going to bless you so much that you can tell folks, you go to the right, I'm going to the left. You go to the left, I'm going to the right. God gonna bless me anywhere I go. And God does just that. And then he's so blessed that he's not worried about these kings. You got 5 kings attacking 4 kings and all these kings that skirmishes everywhere. And Abraham is sitting back until they take his nephew Lot. And Abraham pursues kings, goes and takes his stuff back, goes to the enemy camp, slay them, and take back his stuff. Abraham bad to the bone. He has shown up bad.
Man of faith.
With 318 trained servants from his own camp that were born in his own compound. This man got a lot of stuff.
Listen to this takeaway. If you know the right thing to do in a given situation,
okay,
do it boldly.
Do it.
Don't be cowed by criticism.
Don't hesitate.
Second guessing or self-doubt. God blesses those who are faithful to his will. And that's what Abraham was faithful.
Okay. It said, who was this king that was just making war and taking over the bullet? It said in Abraham's time, most cities had their own king. Wars and rivals among kings was common. A conquered city paid tribute to the victorious king. Nothing is known about this king that was the bullet, Cheryl. And these 5 cities, nothing, very little is known. All we know is that God blessed Abraham to take over that king, as well as the kings with him, and get back return all of the stuff that they had, but all of the stuff that they stole too. Everything they had that they had stole, and his own nephew and all of his nephew Lot's stuff, everything he had. God is really showing Abraham just who God is. That's why you got to be patient with God.
Geraldine said, you never let faithfulness go unrewarded.
We have to be faithful unto the end. We have to be patient to see where God is taking us, to see how God is training us, to see how God is teaching us. Don't let the lessons that God teach us go in vain. We got to learn from what God has done. I know I have. You're going to learn today. I have learned that God can be trusted. I've learned that God is a healer. I've learned not to take anybody that God has with you for granted. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. There's more stories to come. There's other lessons to be learned. But listen, all of this happens. God does all of this for Abram, soon to be Abraham, even before he has that son, that heir, Isaac. Before Isaac and Jacob. And God has blessed him tremendously already. And guess what? God can do the same thing for you. God is still in the blessing business. God is not short on his rewards, his blessings, his favor. He's not short on that. Not any of it. And we may be facing some terrible economic times. Matter of fact, the way they were talking, the way that the election went, that's what it was all about anyway. People was talking about they couldn't buy bread and eggs. We had bread and eggs. Throughout the campaigning, they were saying that things are so bad and things are so high. We still had bread and eggs. I believe y'all did too.
People still going on vacation, still going out to restaurants.
People were going on vacation. People going to football games. I'm talking about big football games. People doing whatever they want to do. I saw it all.
Y'all see all them fans that saying on the 20th, there's gonna be the national championship in Atlanta. It's gonna be a stadium.
Where the fan? Where the family? Look, Eric Florence said, I did. God blessed us so that we just kept right on moving.
Kept right on moving.
And that's the favor of God. And so let's look forward to that. Don't believe the naysayers. When people say, oh, it's so bad, say, well, I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
And don't get me wrong, we're not making it small, because some people are having hard times, whatever, but for whatever reason it is, whether it's for decisions you make and
it ain't God's
all
fault.
kind of thing. But yes, so I know that some people are, but so we have to take a look back and do some practical things,
Even when we go through trials and troubles,
mm-hmm.
God is still teaching through that. Because these were real trials and troubles that Abram was going through, understanding that God had given him the promise, but he was still going through those trials and troubles and being victorious in the midst. That's what I like about God. He'll give you the VICTORY. I got victory in Jesus. Victory is mine. Go ahead.
Just to finish up chapter 14. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter.
He was a good king.
Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Sheva, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine.
Okay.
And he was the priest of the Most High God.
Mm-hmm.
And he blessed him. And blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth.
All right.
And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all.
Abraham gave Melchizedek tithes of all that he had.
Bless him.
Okay.
All right.
There's something to that. Keep going.
And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet,
I ain't taking nothing
and that
from you.
I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich.
Oh Lord.
I ain't gonna have you going around and say, see, I'm the one that made him rich.
Yeah, that's
what church folk do. Church folk do that. Say, okay, I'm gonna let it go. Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their.
See, low down, that's the low down king of Sodom. He had
after everything left.
He had gotten a lot of stuff too, and probably greedily too. But Abraham had to save all of them.
My Lord.
He saved all of them. And so the king of Sodom wants to come and say, okay, I'm going to give you this. We're going to give you this. And Abraham rejected it because then he would say, okay, you trying to give me something so that you can say, you bless me.
You bless me.
Instead of God. He said, it ain't going to be so, my friend. He said, no, we ain't taking nothing from you. I'm giving a tenth to Melchizedek. Because he is the priest of the Most High God, but I ain't got nothing to do with you, because he's evil to the core. The king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, they were evil to the core.
Who that sound like somebody had to sign their name on the check back to the stimulus?
Lord.
Gonna make it seem like he done gave you money out of his pocket. Y'all better wake up.
You going deep tonight.
I'm going deep. Get ready.
So listen. You don't have to do evil to be blessed by God. You don't have to receive evil to be blessed by God. You ain't got to sell drugs to be blessed by God. Yeah. You can live right.
You got to flam. My grandma said you got to flam.
You can live right and be blessed, have the favor of God on your life.
That's right.
That's what I like, Donna Ferguson.
Be faithful.
That's right. Just be faithful. Know that God is going to bless you regardless.
No matter what Reverend I went through in these 41 years with kids ups and downs, we never stopped paying tithes.
Never did.
Never
did.
I don't care how hard it got.
Kept on paying tithes.
Kept paying tithes. Still doing.
And
I never forget, we sat down. This been I don't know how many years ago. I said, "What do you want to do? We want a gross blessing or a net blessing?"
We want a gross.
I want a gross blessing.
So, and we still give. When people ask, we give out of that too.
Tithes and offerings.
Yes.
Offerings. That's right.
Yes. And so here is Abram. Here is Abraham. Just knowing the ways of God, picking up the ways of God, doing what God has impressed upon him to do, building of the altars, praising God, then acknowledging the most high priest of God, doing all those things, just living right, being knowing that God is a battle axe in the time of the battle. Listen, giving God all the glory, all the honor. Won't let that fall unto men, making sure that God gets the praise. God gets all of the credit for the victory in the battles that he has won with them 318
what I love about
men.
this? What I love about this, Abraham could have easily said, okay, well, we don't want, we don't got back. Let's go and celebrate. You drink me. He went to worship.
He worshiped. Oh, that's another thing.
Come on.
That's another thing.
After the battle was over and whatever, he went to worship and thank God. And then that's what he did. And that's why he was blessed. Woo.
And every time God speaks to him, he builds an altar. He builds an altar. And because he wants, what were the altars? We said this last week. Why would they build an altar? An altar would be built so that they could remember and so that they could worship. Remember and worship. Remember and worship. Lord, what did Jesus do? Jesus took that Passover meal
that's
and turned it into the Lord's Supper so that we could remember and worship. Remember and worship. You don't run from the Lord's Supper. You run to it. All right. I'll stop right there. Thank you all for listening in. We have had such a wonderful time. Listen, there is more to come in the life of Abram, soon to be Abraham. This is a wonderful story, started in chapter number 12. Abram, leave where you are. Leave your family. Go to a place where I'll show you. It's already getting exciting. This is exciting. Listen, and if God can do it for him, he can do it for you. Indeed. What he's done one time, he can do 2 times. And that's what I love about God, that God can bless us just like he did Abraham. We're in line for the blessing of Abraham.
Yes. The blessing of Abraham.
All right.
Good evening. Thank you all so much.
Trust
Sister
him.
Woods, Sister
Have faith.
Holloway.
He can do it.
Deacon Jeffrey Don, Sister Rebecca Lee. Thank you all for joining. Sister Katie Carey, Sherry Davidson, Sister Parkman, Brother Robert Moore. Good evening. Thank you, Sister Freedom All. Brother Mac Bell, thank you for joining us. Sister Tabitha Williams, my buddy. Sister Sharon Dunson, Sister Shirley Gates. You got in, Sister Shirley. Sister Dunlap, Sister Dorsey, Brother Perriman, Eric Floyd. God bless you. Tell your family we say hello. And Sister, Sister Staple. Thank you, Brother Trent Williams. God bless you. And all those that joined, Brother Ferguson, Sister Booker. Amen. God bless all of you. All of you. Yeah. We thank and praise God for all of y'all. Brother Durley, Reverend Gates, Donald, thank y'all so much. And all others that joined us tonight. We appreciate it. You joining in with us on Tuesday night.
Share it liberally.
Yes, share it.
Watch God bless you.
Join us again next week. God bless you and keep you always is our prayer.